My sister and I have never been that close. As kids, we got along fine, but she was 2 years older and thought she knew everything, and at times it could be very annoying. As teenagers, we didn't interact that much. In her early 20s, we tried to be closer, but she was a bit of a know-it-all and looked at me as someone much younger than her, instead of as a sister, with only a 2-year age gap. We had some more issues when I married first, and then when I didn't tell her about my first loss, she found out a couple of years later. My sister and I ended up pregnant at the same time. She was due 4 weeks ahead of me. 2 days before she gave birth, my baby didn't make it. She showed up at the hospital and offered her support, but was insensitive. She told me to focus on the positive and that her baby was due any day and would be alive and a celebration for the family. She showed back up in my hospital room the day her oldest was born, which was 3 days after I lost mine. I asked her to please leave, but she didn't, and she told me being around my niece would help me heal. My husband had to call a nurse to get her out. I was so broken that I couldn't be happy to see my niece. For the following 2 months, my sister tried really hard to get me to spend time with her and her oldest and focus on them. She had 3 more daughters in the years that followed. I had several losses in that time also. I never met her youngest 2 girls because I avoided any family gatherings she would attend. Every single time we were in the same place, she would feel the need to say I could get over my losses with her kids, would feel the need to point out that I didn't need to be a mom because I had her girls. I asked her to stop. My husband asked her to stop, and our brother asked her to stop. She would not stop. She got more insensitive as time went on. She told me I shouldn't be capable of holding so much sadness and grief when her children were in the world. I couldn't emotionally handle it. The whole thing was too much for me. It drove me crazy. I snapped at her once, and she acted like I hadn't and proceeded to let me know that her kids should be enough for me. With a lot of help, I became pregnant again at the start of this year, and my son was born not too long ago. My sister took it upon herself to show up and tell me I missed out on a decade with her kids, and how could I justify not knowing my flesh and blood, especially when I finally got what I wanted. She called me selfish. I told her she was the reason for that she was insensitive and cruel, always ignoring my boundaries and pushing her kids on me when I was grieving and could not fill the void with her kids. She told me that her kids are more than good enough, and how dare I accuse her of being at fault, and I'm the selfish one. So, am I the idiot? OMG. Well, next time, you can tell her what she doesn't know is that her kids aren't special to you and will never replace yours, that you hope they're enough for her because it looks like she's trying to get your validation that they're good enough. You are not the idiot, and better cut contact with her unless you want your kid to suffer her behavior. She will surely tell your kid her children are better than your child. He's not good enough. You're selfish because of him. OP, are you kidding? You are not the idiot. Your sister is. Keep away from her. She's ridiculously narcissistic. Wow. I'm guessing the issue was your loss took away from the attention she expected to get from her birth, so she tried to manipulate you. You should have helped her lose a few teeth a long time ago, then told her not to worry. You still have all your teeth. I am not a psychologist, but your sister sounds like an epic-level narcissist, particularly her accusation of your selfishness when you finally did have a child seems more like a negative reaction to you succeeding in an area she was holding over you. I'll put one cautionary note. Remember that her children are not responsible for their mother's behavior. Try to treat them as best you can, based on who they are, not their mother. If she's as much of a narcissist as it sounds, they're likely to experience more negativity from her than the endless positive she projects about them to everyone else. At the end of the day, she sounds like she never grew up from having a little sister take away some of her attention. Your sister has what has become known as main character syndrome. She believes that she is the center of existence. Everyone should feel privileged to know her, be around her, and access her progeny. It's ridiculous. The idea that her kid should be enough for you after carrying a child to nearly full term and then having a stillbirth is actually insane. I'm so glad you now have a child of your own, and please don't let your sister ruin it. It's a shame that you don't have a relationship with her children, but I do agree that if the facts are how you laid them out, your sister is the reason. She's reaping what she sowed at this point. I, 32 female, have a brother, Charles, 38, who has a girlfriend, Claire, 35. Claire has a daughter, Ruby, pre-tween, who has additional needs. This will be relevant. And I have a daughter, B, preschooler. We are all, along with my and Charles's parents, going on a family holiday over Christmas. Claire was initially not bringing Ruby, as she was meant to stay with her father, but her dad's a flake and canceled, so Claire's now bringing her. For some context, Claire loves my daughter, which is great. She'll volunteer to babysit her. I don't need babysitting as I'm a stay-at-home mom, and my mother's nearby for emergencies, unprompted. And whenever she sees her at events, she always wants to play with B. B loves her and it's nice to see, but it is noticeable how she'll spend a whole afternoon fussing over B, even when my husband and I are perfectly capable of looking after her. But again, she's excellent with B, so we don't mind. A couple of days ago, Claire and I were texting about what to pack for the trip as I lent her some clothes. During this, I sent her a picture of what I was packing for B to give her some idea of what Ruby would need, and Claire said that she was looking forward to seeing B. She then suggested that for a couple of days during the holiday, we do a kid swap where we babysit each other's kids for the day. I was immediately not keen on this idea, as I've only met Ruby twice and know nothing about her needs or how to look after her properly. Also, I came on holiday to spend time with my child, not farm her out to other people. I skirted around the issue, saying we could do things together, but Claire kept pushing me to agree. She wanted her and Charles to take B for a day to go ice skating. This back and forth went on for a while before I finally said, no, I'm not letting you borrow my child. You already have one. Claire said I was being unfair and that she deserved a break and to have an enjoyable holiday too. She said she didn't want to borrow my clothes anymore and stopped texting me. Charles is now saying that she's very hurt that I won't let her take B out and that Claire adores her. I said that's not the point. I'm uncomfortable caring for Ruby on my own, and frankly, I find it odd that Claire's idea of a break from parenting involves babysitting. Charles says that I'm massively over-dramatizing and that babysitting Ruby for a few hours doesn't need a degree, and I should just help Claire out. Now I'm wondering if he's right. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. The problem is not that Claire wants to borrow B for a while. The problem is that she wants you to take care of her child with special needs, a child who you don't know, and Ruby doesn't know you and could be uncomfortable around people she doesn't know well and don't know how to care for. Now, without sounding too cynical, did you get the impression that Claire somehow resents Ruby in any way and would like to have a daughter like B instead? Her attitude around your child is strange, at best, and it looks like Claire has something to unpack with a professional therapist. Frankly, I'd be quite uncomfortable too, leaving my daughter with a woman who seems slightly obsessed with her. Claire wants to spend time doing parental activities with a child with no special needs. It's not babysitting as such. It's a substitution as she's unable to do them with her daughter. I have great sympathy for her, especially with a deadbeat ex involved who doesn't share the parenting load. She's watching everyone else get their Kodak moments we all picture before becoming parents, yet they're denied to her with her own child. It's a tough situation for Claire, but ultimately, it's one she has to deal with herself, and not by borrowing your child. I could also see her getting possessive of your daughter, so you're doing the right thing by nipping it in the bud. My boyfriend is FTM transgender. We're both 26 now and have been together since we were 17. We went to the same primary school, the same high school. We've known each other almost all our lives and fell in love young. I've been out as bi since high school. My boyfriend, before transitioning, was out as a lesbian since high school too. However, a couple of years into our relationship, he confided in me a few times about being confused about his gender and that he doesn't feel female and never has. Still, he doesn't think he wants to transition. We've had many deep conversations about this, and I've always been supportive and told him I'll always love him no matter who he is and what he decides to do. Last July, he finally told me he wanted to transition again. Again, I was supportive and so proud of him and have been there for him every step of the way. I defended him against others, took him clothes shopping, went with him for his first haircut. I offered to do this, but he wanted it done professionally and cared for him while he was recovering from his top surgery. I did it all with him, and he wanted me there. He's always had a close group of male friends. He's just always been the kind of person who gets along better with men. He does have female friends too, but most of them are male, and since transitioning, to be more specific, since his top surgery, he's acting differently. Not like I'm finally myself different, just like idiot different. He's turned into the kind of man I cannot stand. Misogynistic, gross behavior, gross jokes, embarrassing me in front of his friends. He's become a Saturdays are for the boys kind of man, and I hate it. This is not who I fell in love with. He's never acted like this. Multiple times I've had to tell him not to speak to me like that, not to do that, not to say that, and not to joke about that. All I get in response is, don't police what I say or do, or stop trying to control me. He refers to me as woman when any of his friends are at our house. He tells me to get back in the kitchen, and if I don't, he has lines of girls waiting for him. Yesterday, he had his friend over and told me to make him and his friend a sandwich and get them some beers. I said, no, do it yourself. I'm not your slave. He snapped at me and said, no, but you're my woman, and I expect you to act like it. All the built-up anger and frustration and hurt came up, and I snapped back and told him, well, you're my man, so I expect you to act like it, rather than a little boy. Your behavior's grossing me out. His friend decided to leave after this. My boyfriend and I had a huge blow-up argument about how he's been treating me, and he accused me of being phobic, not accepting him for who he is, not being there for him. So I kicked him out. I told him if he wanted to act like a boy, if he wanted someone to mother him, he could go to his mother's and stay there. Since then, I've had texts from his mother telling me she always knew I was no good for him. I should accept who he is. This is coming from the woman who tried to stop my boyfriend from transitioning, as she feared it would be an embarrassment to the family, and she said to us that our family's not a circus. I still love him. We've spent most of our lives knowing each other and half our lives in love. I don't want to throw this relationship away, so maybe what I said was too harsh. I could have said it better, but honestly, I don't know how else to approach this. Has this happened to anyone else? Am I the idiot for saying this and being upset? Or is this a phase that most transgender people go through? Not the idiot. However, it's understandable that your boyfriend's transition is a complex process, but it doesn't excuse disrespectful behavior. Your feelings are valid, but it's crucial to communicate openly about the impact of his actions on your relationship. Seek understanding and compromise together, and consider professional guidance for both as needed. Well, she isn't phobic. She just doesn't like misogyny. It's amazing how these labels are weaponized to allow people to get away with crappy behavior without criticism. But yeah, if a rational discussion does nothing to change his behavior, leave. You deserve a relationship that doesn't tear you down at every opportunity. Darling, you're not throwing anything away. He is. He's become misogynistic and condescending towards you. His accusing you of being anti-trans after all of your continued support on his journey is ironic at the least, and so hurtful. You can love him for the journey and memories. You don't need to become his servant. He has become something no woman wants to be with, which is twisted. I hope you find someone who respects and values you and doesn't just want to use you as a doormat. My husband, 32, is a complete mama's boy. He'll call his mother for hours, talk to her, and spend time with her, more than he does with me. I recently hit my 6-month mark in my pregnancy and asked my husband to help me get ready with all sorts of things for the baby. He said that would interfere with time spent with his mom, and I replied, "Yeah, it might, but I need you more right now. And would you if you did some other time?" He gave me an offended look and said, "You know my mom comes before you." I was shocked, but I explained to him that we just needed to get ready with a few things here and there, and that I wouldn't need more help later in the week. He just ignored me and went to his mom's house. After a while, she called me and said, "I won," in a snarky voice, and I just bit my tongue and said, "Maybe I'll win next time," and she hung up. I could hear my husband laughing in the background, which angered me for a while, and I was walking around carrying things upstairs. It hurt like heck, but I got it done. I decided to paint the nursery walls another day. Our anniversary rolled around a couple of weeks later. I woke up, got my husband's gift ready that day, and cooked his favorite meal. He returned from work, and I was upstairs in the bathroom, and he left. I got all eager and happy that he was bringing some surprise and waited in the living room. 30 minutes go by and I call him, saying, "Where are you?" He replies, "Oh, I'm at my mom's house." I don't appreciate what I said here, but I told him, "She might as well be having your kid. You clearly seem like you're with her." I hung up the phone and it was probably on speakerphone. Minutes later, I got a bunch of texts from them saying that I shouldn't be jealous, respect my mother-in-law, and maybe find something to do instead of being a bitter idiot. Am I the idiot? Bro, dude, homie, I stopped reading. You know my mom comes before you? Absolutely not. Get out of that relationship and start collecting child support. You are not the idiot, but why are you married to this man? You are the idiot to yourself. He's told you and has shown you many times that you and the baby are not important. Why are you still there hoping for change? Surely, there were signs of things to come before your marriage and pregnancy. Why are you still there, girl? Wake up. Your husband has clearly shown that he's a mommy's boy, and his family is deranged. You need to go see a divorce lawyer urgently and get the heck out of your marriage before your baby is born. Yeah, OP needs to use this time with him away to set things up, then move out. Why is OP putting time and effort into a nursery while she'll care for a child as a single mom? Moving out and being a single mom with child support is better. OP should be moving wherever she has family and leaving the mistake of marrying this man behind. Oh, wow. Condolences, OP, on being the pregnant side chick. You are a fool if you stay with this man. You were robbing yourself and your child of the life you could have had. Even if you never find someone else to love, you could have a life of being respected and treated as a worthy person and not be second class in your own home. Dump his sorry butt and make a life for yourself and your child that doesn't include his mother. It's time to get a good divorce lawyer and look into getting primary custody, because I have a feeling he would try to take the baby away from you so that he and his mom can raise the baby together. This, if anything, shared custody would only allow the mother-in-law to badmouth OP to the child against her. Mother-in-law is very toxic. When OP wins sole custody, she needs to call mother-in-law and say, "I won."